A hospital is supposed to be a place of rest, but for most patients, the nights are anything but quiet. Machines beep, alarms sound, carts roll past the door, voices drift in from the hallway at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And when you're sick or recovering from surgery, that sleep isn't a luxury. It's part of how your body heals. So tonight, let's look at what the research actually says about how loud hospitals really are, what that noise does to patients, and how something as simple as a designed soundscape can help. This is Sleep Protocol Studio. Research explained. Just how loud is a hospital? Start with the target. The World Health Organization recommends that patient wards stay around 35 decibels on average, with nighttime peaks kept under 40. 35 decibels is about the sound of a quiet library. That's the goal. Now, here's the reality. Study after study finds that intensive care units blow right past that line. One large review found overnight sound levels averaging nearly 55 decibels, exceeding the WHO limit around 37% of the time. And it's not just the average, it's the spikes. In that same environment, noise climbed above 70 decibels almost 7 times an hour, all night long. Other measurements have caught peaks of 80, 90, even higher, the range of a passing motorcycle, happening right next to a sleeping patient. To put that in perspective, a normal conversation is about 60 decibels. A hospital at night is often louder than the room you're sitting in right now. What that noise does to a patient. The obvious problem is that noise wakes you up, but the science shows it's deeper than that. Sound doesn't just interrupt sleep, it changes the shape of it. It pulls patients out of the deep, restorative stages and traps them in lighter, fragmented sleep. In one cohort study, the median amount of sleep patients actually got was just 5 hours, broken into pieces across the night. And researchers found a clear threshold. When peak sound levels crossed roughly 58 decibels, patients slept measurably less. Now, why does that matter medically? Because fragmented sleep in the hospital is linked to some serious outcomes: confusion, delirium, longer recovery times. One literature review estimated that noise could account for as much as 76% of sleep disruption in the ICU. So this isn't about comfort. Poor sleep can slow down the very recovery the patient is there for. Here's the part most people get wrong. When we think about fixing hospital noise, we imagine making everything silent. But silence isn't actually the goal. And here's why. Researchers who study this have found that the most disruptive sounds aren't the loudest ones on average. They're the sudden ones: a single alarm, a door, a voice, cutting through a quiet room. It's the contrast that wakes you. The jump from near silence to a sharp sound. Your brain is wired to notice that. And that's where soundscapes come in. A well-designed soundscape doesn't try to cancel noise, it raises the floor. By adding a soft, steady layer of sound, gentle broadband texture, slow waves, warm tones, you shrink the gap between the background and the alarm. The alarm still happens, but now it rises out of a soft blanket of sound instead of exploding out of silence. Sound masking research in intensive care units points to exactly this. It's not the volume you remove, it's the contrast you smooth over. What this means for you. Most of us aren't lying in an ICU tonight, but the same principle works anywhere sleep is hard to come by. A noisy apartment, a snoring partner, a city that never fully goes quiet, a hotel with thin walls. A steady soundscape gives your brain something constant to rest against, so the sudden sounds don't yank you awake. That's the whole idea behind the long soundscape sessions on this channel. Not to drown out the world, but to soften its edges, so your sleep can hold together. If you want to try it, there are full-length sessions linked below, designed around exactly this research. One honest note before we go. This video explains research. It is not medical advice, and a soundscape is not a treatment. If you or someone you love is struggling with sleep in a clinical setting,
talk to the care team. There's often a lot they can do. Thanks for watching. Rest well. This has been Sleep Protocol Studio.